Welcome back to the deep dive. Ready to dig into a story that's like, what, thousands of years old but still feels crazy relevant today?
Always.
We're diving into the book of Genesis,
Oh, nice.
chapter 44. It's about family drama, secrets, and some pretty deep questions about sin and forgiveness. You know, the good stuff.
Yeah, that's Genesis for you, never disappoints.
So our main source today is an analysis from My Christian Space.
Okay.
And don't worry, this isn't about like preaching or anything.
Right.
It's more about exploring how this story from forever ago still speaks to like the human experience.
Yeah, totally.
So we've got Joseph. He had a bit of a rough time with his brothers, to say the least.
Yeah, I mean, sold into slavery.
Exactly. And years later, their paths cross again.
Oh, boy.
But the brothers, they have no clue who he is.
Oh, this is good.
And here's where it gets juicy. Joseph's in a position of power now in Egypt, and he comes up with this, like, elaborate test for his brothers.
I bet this is about more than just like, hey, remember me.
Well, absolutely. It gets deep.
Because it's all part of this bigger story, right?
Yeah.
God's covenant with Abraham and his descendants. That's huge.
Okay, so we're talking big spiritual weight, generational impact, the whole shebang.
Exactly. It's not just a random family squabble. This is about, like, the foundation of their identity.
Wow, okay, so big picture stuff. But back to Joseph and his little test.
Let's hear it.
So he sneaks his silver goblet into his youngest brother Benjamin's bag and then sends his men after them, accusing them of stealing.
Ooh, sneaky.
I don't know about you, but I'd be freaking out.
Yeah, talk about a setup. So what's the plan here? Revenge. Little payback.
Well, it kind of feels that way at first, right? But the analysis from My Christian Space suggests something way deeper is going on.
Okay, I'm listening.
See, Joseph's had all this time to process, like his anger, the betrayal. This test isn't about getting even. It's about something much bigger.
All right, now I'm really intrigued. What's really going on here? It's like he's holding up a mirror, right? Making them confront the guilt they've probably buried for years. Because let's be real, these are the same guys who sold Joseph into slavery.
And that guilt comes rushing back like nobody's business. They're so ready to condemn whoever stole the goblet.
Talk about missing the irony.
Totally. They're looking at their own past actions, but they don't even recognize themselves.
It's kind of scary how unaddressed sin can warp your whole perspective. They've spent so long justifying what they did that they're blind to their own hypocrisy.
Ouch, yeah. Makes you think, what are the silver goblets we're carrying around? Those things we haven't really dealt with that could be holding us back.
Big questions right there.
For real. But let's get back to the brothers. So, they find the goblet in Benjamin's bag, and this is where things take a turn. Especially with Judah, the one who first suggested selling Joseph off in the first place.
Oh yeah, Judah. He really steps up here.
Right. He doesn't turn on Benjamin, doesn't try to shift the blame.
Instead, he offers himself up.
Whoa, seriously.
Yeah, he's willing to become a slave to save his little brother.
Talk about a complete 180. He's like a different
It
person.
really makes you think about those big themes. Atonement, sacrifice.
Yeah.
That willingness to put yourself on a line for someone else, even someone you've wronged.
Yeah, like he's trying to make up for the past, right? To atone for what he did to Joseph, it's kind of mind-blowing. What would we be willing to sacrifice for others, even people we haven't treated so well?
Huge questions again.
Yeah.
But Judah's transformation, it's like this glimmer of hope in the middle of all this heavy stuff. It shows that people can change, even after messing up big time. And there's this really cool thing about the original Hebrew that adds another layer to all this.
Oh, I love when language stuff comes into play. Tell me more.
So the word for go again, when the brothers are talking about going back to Egypt,
Yeah.
it's actually from the same root word as repentance.
Whoa, you're kidding. So it's not just a grocery run, it's a whole repentance journey.
Exactly. This return trip to Egypt, it's about facing the music, dealing with the consequences of their actions. And that struggle, that wrestling with guilt and responsibility, that's what repentance is all about. It's not just feeling bad. It's about owning your mistakes and trying to do better.
That's so powerful. So they're not just dealing with a physical famine. They're dealing with this, like, famine of the soul. It's like, do we try to ignore those messes we've made, hoping they'll magically disappear? Or do we face the music like these guys, even if it's tough?
Right. It's that age-old question. Run from it or deal with it. And this story seems to say that facing those hard truths, those silver goblets we talked about, that's like essential for growth, for real reconciliation. But that brings us to another layer of this whole thing that's so relevant, even now, forgiveness.
Okay, so if Joseph's not out for revenge, and it's more than just forcing them to face the music, is it really about forgiveness?
That's where it goes beyond just an old story, you know? It becomes something much bigger. The analysis really emphasizes that Joseph's been listening to God this whole time, right? Like his actions are guided by something, well, higher, something that points toward healing, toward forgiveness.
So no eye for an eye here. It's about moving on from the pain of the past.
Exactly. And that's where forgiveness, giving it and accepting it, that's where it all comes together. It's actually really interesting. The text doesn't come right out and say if Joseph forgives them at this point.
Really?
Yeah. It's like it's left open-ended. Makes you think,
It's like the story's asking us, what do you think? Is forgiveness just forgetting, or is it something deeper?
Exactly. And that's the question I'll leave you with today. If this is, at its core, a story about forgiveness and reconciliation, how does that change how we see those things in our own lives? Are we holding on to past hurts, our own silver goblets, unwilling to let go? And what would it take for us to forgive those who've hurt us? Or even to accept forgiveness for ourselves?
Wow. Yeah, that's a lot to chew on. Amazing how a story this ancient can still feel so relevant. Big thanks to you for walking us through this.
Anytime.
And to all of you listening, thanks for joining us for this deep dive into, sin, repentance, and the whole complicated thing that is forgiveness. Don't forget to check out the show notes for more on all this. And until next time, keep exploring, keep asking those tough questions, and keep diving deep.